My thoughts on this are kind of tricky. I want to be careful with this. I always give this considerable thought. In fact, I gave serious thought to skipping it altogether because it involves a relative of an NFL player, not the NFL player himself, but a relative. And as a general rule on this program, in fact, since its inception, I try to stay away from family members of famous people. The athlete is going to be in the spotlight. That's part of the deal. That's what he or she signs up for. Family members, though, do not always ask for that kind of attention. Sometimes they love it. Sometimes they want it, but they're not the ones who signed up for it. You know, that's collateral damage. They're along for the ride. They may not want that attention. With that in mind, and I thought about maybe not doing this at all, but with that in mind, if you're facing 21 charges related to illegally owning and then releasing a wild cat, there is a very good chance you might get mentioned on the program. Whether you have a connection to sports or not, whether or not your son is famous or not, if the story's that wild and involving a wild cat, and it is. You see, in this case, the man facing 21 charges related to illegally owning and then releasing a wild cat is none other than Ezekiel Elliott's dad. Now, before we get into this, I want to be very clear about one more thing. I said a wild cat, not a wildcat. 2 words, not one. Wild, as in normally not kept in captivity. Wild cat. Not wildcat. According to the Columbus Dispatch, Stacey Elliott, also known as Stacey El Mohammed, quote, was charged Tuesday by the Ohio Department of Agriculture, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Fairfield Area Humane Society, and Fairfield County Dog Warden. Damn. They leave anybody out. Did the Department of Commerce not want any of that? No word from the Department of Youth Services. The Office of Budget and Management was too busy to show up. Does the Chamber of Commerce think that they're better than him? Does Robert Dasmati? Isn't that the very reason that Ross gave up his dream spot here? To chase that elusive and ridiculous dream that he had elsewhere? Listen, I don't want to repeat myself, but if I have said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. You do not want to be charged with offenses by the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Natural Resources, the Humane Society, and the Dog Warden all at once. If those 2 cabinet departments and the Humane Society and the Dog Warden show up on your doorstep, man, you got problems. Especially if the Dog Warden is there. What the hell could this possibly mean? What on earth could you possibly do that would unite these 4 different forces? 4. It all goes back to October. A sheriff's office received a call about a bobcat attacking a dog. According to the initial report, when the deputies arrived, they saw the cat. They felt threatened. They shot the cat. As it turns out, it was not a bobcat. It was a serval. Yes, a serval. An exotic cat that stands about 2 feet tall and can weigh up to 40 pounds. And from looking at the pics, it's got quite a set of teeth on it. Which is why the state of Ohio has classified it as a, quote, dangerous wild animal. It requires you to have a permit. How many times have you tuned into this program and heard me say the following? It is illegal to own a serval in Ohio without a permit. Man, everybody knows that. The sun rises in the east, and you have to have a permit to own a serval in Ohio. And if an official hits you with, sir, do you have a permit for that serval? Man, you better have the right answer. And the right answer is, yes, sir, I do. Because if that's not your answer, they're going to throw the whole damn book at you. And everybody knows it, and they should. And this is where it gets really weird. Because according to one report, El Mohammed did not have a permit to own that serval. but also denied that he was the owner of the serval. Quote, investigators spoke with El Mohammed, who said he was keeping the serval, but wasn't the owner, according to a news release from the state agriculture department. End of quote. Of course, the old, this isn't my serval, I'm holding it for a friend excuse. Man, if I've heard that once, I've heard that a million times. You know, like, I have never knowingly taken any PEDs. The dog ate my homework. That's not my serval. It's my friend's. I'm just watching him. Man, you had to know that Zeke's pop would throw that card. Just as you had to know there was no way that was going to work. Quote, investigators used a microchip in the serval to trace its ownership, determining it had been sold to El Mohammed, who did not hold the required permit to own a serval in Ohio. End of quote. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but there are two rules in life. The internet is written in ink, and the microchips in a serval never lie. Man, once that microchip is in that serval, you cannot unring that bell. I keep telling you people this, but you will not listen. You never, ever listen. I want you to say, you need to be a responsible serval owner. And by responsible, I mean you get your permit to carry that serval. Don't be walking around with a serval and no permit. And if you don't have one, you sure as hell don't try to duck out of it and say it's not your serval. I mean, come on now. Like, I want to say that, but I can't. The reason I can't is I've got this other question rattling around my head right now that I can't shake. I got to know this. First and foremost, I have to know this. Who the hell owns a serval in the first place? Seriously, who owns an animal like that? And why? Snake guy can't believe serval guy is real. Better yet, why don't we back up one more time? What the hell is a serval? Like, I know it's a rare cat, but who sees a serval and thinks, damn, I need one of those? How do I get one of those? I want that half tiger, half cougar. How do I get that half tiger, half cougar? And can I get a big ass scratching post? And what kind of a cat serval litter box do I need for that? And what do I feed that half cat, half cougar? Do I feed him other neighborhood pets? And who sells that? How do you get one? Who's selling a serval? Is it Amazon Prime? Is there a serval breeder? And when it comes to servals, is it better to adopt and not shop? Can you go to a serval rescue? Does the local pet store have serval adoption days? So many questions. You just know this. Whatever you do, however you get that serval, man, you better get a permit. And you better not just allow it to escape, because that's one of the charges that Zeke's pop is facing. Allowing dangerous wild animal to escape. And again, what does that even mean? Was he going free range serval? Or did he just get tired of having a serval and just let it go? Or is he one of those horrible people that decide that owning a dog is just too hard, so they're going to, quote, take him for a ride? You know, take that dog into some other neighborhood and drop it off. Take it for a ride. I know a few people have done that. See you in hell. Here are a couple other charges that he's facing. Possession of a dangerous wild animal. Failure to have dangerous wild animal signage at property entrance. Failure to have dangerous wild animal signage on a cage. Failure to notify of a dangerous wild animal escape. Like, dude, this could not have gone any worse for you. I'm going to have to hold up my hand and say, hey, I didn't know that was a crime. I didn't know that keeping dangerous wild animals and have them not escape is something that's important. Let me tell you something. If I had a dangerous wild animal and it escaped, I damn well would call somebody. I would say something. Like, if I had a pet rhino and it got away, I would call somebody. If I had a pet serval, if I even knew what a serval was before now, and it got away, I would call somebody. And you know, if I'm talking about the Ohio Department of Agriculture, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Fairfield Area Humane Society, and the Fairfield County Dog Warden, you know they mean business. Bottom line is this, and why this is no laughing matter. 8 of the 21 charges are first-degree misdemeanors, and a first-degree misdemeanor carries a maximum penalty of 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. Theoretically, my man could be facing jail time for having an unlicensed serval. Hope that was worth it, although I know it wasn't. In other words, to quote Patrick Beverley, when it comes to serval and serval-related crimes, we ain't bleeping around.
No, we ain't around.
Again, I hate to ever drag a family member into it, but I'll make you a deal, Pops. You stop buying unlicensed wild animals, releasing them into the public, and lying about it, and I promise I will keep your name out my mouth.
Keep my name out your mouth.
How's that sound? Had no idea what a serval was. I do now. And unfortunately, so does the neighbor, because that serval tried to eat their dog. That answers the question, what do you feed a serval? Other neighborhood pets. Wow. Zeke, did you have a little chat with your pops? It always comes around, right? You know, it used to be like when you're raising kids, you got to sit your kid down and explain the ways of the world. And then at some point that flips, and the kid is telling the old man how things are. Can't wait till Logan tries to roll up on me with, yo, Pops, I got a few things for you. It's kind of like that general manager of that radio station who once told me, oh, Adam Hawk. Let me tell you about Adam Hawk. One day we will all work for him. Actually, you know what? One day you'll work for him. I know I won't. You will. Got the interview coming up on Friday. An Adam Hawk special. Adam Hawk along with Alvin DeLauro. That's going to be a big one. 2019. If you like Alvin's week that was, imagine then Alvin's year that was. I want to hear from a serval owner. Where did you get it? What is it like? Is it domesticated? Do you let it sleep with you? Hey, Rome. Ezekiel Elliott's dad released a wild cat. My dad once released a saber-toothed tiger. Signed Frank Gore. Stephen PHX. I don't even get that. I don't even get that. Oh, I get it. You're calling Frank old. Oh, that's funny. Really funny. Hey, Jim, if Ezekiel Elliott's dad needs help with the serval cat, he can contact me. Signed Kevin Mitchell. Paul in Albany, War Rome's sister's cat. All right, really quickly, before I go to break, I want to make a couple of things clear. War Rome's sister's cat. She has a name. She's my sister. I know her. Why would she sign it Rome's sister? And it wasn't her cat. It was the family cat. And that's a very sad story that you don't need to keep resetting. My sister, when she was young, took the cat for a walk on a leash. Let's just say the cat got away from her and was running down the street with the leash behind. The cat climbed a tree. It ended very badly. Why is that funny to you? It's not funny to me or the family, all right? In terms of sincerely Kevin Mitchell, I've said this time and time again. Mitch, from me to you. If you're watching, what's up, Mitch? How you doing? You still made the greatest defensive play I've ever seen in my life. You're an MVP. Big time. Memo to anybody who knows Mitch, who's watching or listening, do not run this back to Mitch that I was disrespecting or talking junk. If there's one rule I have in this world, it is I do not disrespect or talk junk about Kevin Mitchell. Never have, never will. And you know why that is? Mitch scares me. Still, I love Kevin Mitchell. So if any of you, Mitch, if any of you are running this back to him, Paul in Albany is the dope you're looking for, not me. I've done this a million times with athletes. This has come up so many times over the years. I mentioned this earlier. When an athlete is upset with something I said, I always say, okay, hold up. Did you hear me say it? No, my boy told me. Okay, what did your boy tell you? He said, I didn't say that, insert athlete. What I said is this. I don't want this going back to Kevin Mitchell the wrong way. The dope in question is Paul in Albany. Hey, Rome, I'll chase down Wildcat any day of the week. Steve Garvey. Mitch from Buffalo. Like, Mitch, you're a weird dude. You're a weird dude. Mitch, you had like a thing going, right? I actually took notice where I'm like, this guy's all right. And then the second I said that, you went right down the gutter. A Steve Garvey chasing Wildcat reset? Now you're on notice for the wrong thing, Mitch. You're close to getting blocked, and you know I don't block anybody.
We see cat, mate.
We see cat, mate.